Real people, real stories, and real challenges that break the status quo. I'm your host, Živile, and welcome to Perception Paradox. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Perception Paradox. And today I am very happy to welcome to the podcast Francesca, who is an international entrepreneur, co-founder and CEO of TeamEQ, and her background is in systemic management, coaching, and conscious capitalism. That's what I managed to get from your LinkedIn. Is that correct?
Yes, is that correct?
Welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
Thank you so much. Fine. I'm very well, and we are in Barcelona, just ending a crazy Mobile World Congress week. So that's a perfect moment to chill a little bit and to have a great conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me. It's pretty cool. So how was the Mobile World Congress for you?
Wow. This year was huge and a lot of people, very crowded. So we had been like 2 years of post-COVID Mobile World Congress, more or less. So 2020 was cancelled. 2021 was cancelled. 2022 we were with masks everywhere and very few people. Okay. And last year was a bit raising up, but this year was amazing. I mean, huge, and all artificial intelligence devices all around. So it was very little phones and a lot of different devices.
I mean, no Wi-Fi, so
no Wi-Fi in the venue, very little, but it's okay. And a lot of traffic around, and amazing people. So I, generally speaking, I don't know how was it for you, but it was an important moment also for Barcelona, because they signed like for 15 years more for the Mobile Congress here. So
that's a huge commitment.
It's a huge commitment and important for the city, and came back to the same level, I would say, of professionality and participation and as before COVID. So
okay, wow. How many have you attended before?
That was 90 something, I think. I don't know if this is the record one, but it's the first time where 4 years from now, so the startup world was really 100% integrated into the Mobile World Congress, because that was the first attempt before the pandemic. Because at the beginning they celebrated this year 10 years or 4 years from now, and actually that was before, previously in another venue that was like 15 minutes from the principal Mobile World Congress.
So it was separate.
They were separate. So for many years, actually, people were jumping from one venue to the other, but the 4 years from now startups did not have access to Mobile World Congress. So that was a little bit separation. And then before the pandemic, they started to be integrated. But I would say this year, that was really a different kind also of people there, because they were not only professionals from the Mobile World Congress, they were all mixed up with young people and scale-up startups, world investors. It was like really in the same venue for the first time.
Pretty cool. For me, it was the first Mobile World Congress, so that was very interesting, because usually I go to very startup-ish events where everyone like, hey, chill, hello, what's up, pitches and stuff. And I come there. I was invited to moderate a panel on neurodiverse talents, and I come there. I look around and I'm like, wow. What is happening? It's so like different. The energy.
It's divided in two different venues. Really, they are still two different venues, because the Mobile World Congress, everybody is with jackets and ties and very formal, still like old way a little bit. And then you have this
my business card. How can I help you? Yeah, but I found it very interesting. So Mobile World Congress for me ended up being like as a perfect place to do business. Everyone is there to really like do sales, generate leads, do partnerships, and I think they've done it really well. And then, of course, I found out about 4 years from now. I went there. It was super nice. I looked around the startups, but I was kind of focused on the preparing for the panel. And then after the panel, that's how we met, and ended up now being here in Barcelona recording the podcast. I was like, okay, on Wednesday, I'm going to spend time in the startup area, because I want to know who is there, and it's time to go back to my vibes. And literally the moment I entered the lounge, I started bumping into the people I know. I was like, okay, now we're talking. So that was quite a fun moment for
just
me.
For people to know, there are like 9 different and separated huge pavilions. So it's like maybe 20,000 steps a day.
It is. Yeah, it's insane. And then the funny fact was that there are 2 floors of 4 years for now. I discovered the last day. don't blame me. It happened by accident as well. Anyway, but good. I'm really glad that we met, and the reason we're here, I guess, that you're an entrepreneur. You have a very interesting story, and one of the panelists, Victoria, she was like, "You have to talk. You have to talk," and then we just exchanged some words, perception, and I was like, "All right, interesting. Let's talk." So for me, it's also very interesting because it's a new connection for us. And I would like to start with this maybe first question. So on your LinkedIn, I've seen that you're kind of family generational entrepreneur, right?
Yes.
That you have entrepreneurship in your family. But
it's in DNA.
In DNA. Can you tell me more?
Yeah, it's actually my family in Italy is in the real estate properties. So since I was very, very little, actually everybody was entrepreneur. And my sister is joking because she's the only one like employee. I tried. I entered the corporate world for a few years. And when they started to tell me that I have to pass the card at the beginning and at the entrance and have this rigid schedule, I understood. It was a great gym and a great school of life because of course you learn a lot. So I worked for a project for L'Oreal, then in Put, which is a beauty and fragrance big group here it says Carolina Herrera, Nina Ricci, Paco Rabanne, everything done in craft. I don't know, it's Mendelez. I tried. Bar and Ferrero, the chocolate.
Oh, I would like to
chocolate,
have one.
yes. And then I realized that it was really like the entrepreneurial part was too strong. So I left out also for a physical problem, actually. When you have something you love that tells you you're not on the path.
Oh, yeah.
And that was for me. So I was working in Ferrero and I had a back problem. And actually I was always losing my leg. And so they told me, okay, you have to operate yourself. And I did it. And then never came back. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What was your role actually in the corporate world? Which area?
Marketing. I was in the marketing that moment, actually, for Nutella.
Oh my god! So it sounds very exciting, but at the end of the day, if you think about Nutella, Ferrero, it's something that's actually destroying your body.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, but it was not for the job itself because I love chocolate, but it was really saying a healthy environment. So that was not, but it was really probably was not the one for me.
I understand.
And so that where I started a different path of Chinese medicine and understanding systemically what was happening to my body, spirit, and mind, and starting working on myself. Okay. And that's where I decided to leave the corporate world. Okay. And actually that's not on my LinkedIn because it's something that depending on who I'm talking about after it's not. But I studied Chinese medicine for 4 years and became practitioner of Chinese medicine. So I had my own consultancy doing coaching and systemic coaching and organizational and family constellation therapies together with Chinese medicine. So during a few years, I really stepped back from the corporate world. And that's also where the idea of TeamEQ a little bit started, to have more holistic approach to organizations and starting working all the consultancy part from the human side, but also from the business results side. So what does it mean to have healthier organization? What does it mean healthier teams, or the concept of holistic well-being? So especially when we think about a few years ago, there was less this concept that you are somebody at work and then you are somebody else outside. And more with new generation, this came into like a topic. So of course you're yourself. That's But how do you deal with this yourself at work? And
that's so interesting. So you spend like 15 years around in corporate or less?
Yeah, more or less, I think so.
That's still quite some time. Wow.
Yes, I don't remember. 10 for good. 10 for sure. Yes, 10 for sure.
10 for sure. And then you step back after your last role to heal yourself. You were having a back pain. How long did you allow yourself to take off?
No, more than 10. Sorry. Yes. Almost 13 because I started 13. Before the university. Yeah, during the university. So yeah. So
how was your healing process? Yeah. Like, where did you start and what did you do first? Because it's a very gray area, right? You have a back pain, people send you, you need a surgery, or you have this like a herniated disc. Everyone has herniated disc.
Moreover, I was young, so people didn't believe me at first. Okay. So that was painful because I said I cannot walk.
Yes.
And I didn't seem like somebody that could not walk.
Yeah.
So it was like asking myself what's happening to me because I really cannot walk. And then starting understanding there was some part of the pain that was like emotional pain. So, I mean, my pain was physical because, of course, I had this problem and operation. But then, depending on how I was dealing with that issue, there were days that the pain was less. So I started asking myself what's happening in me, and then investigating a little bit and learn how we have these movements and meridians and how it happens when you see the person together with the physical part, the mental part, the emotional part, and the spiritual part. And so you learn how to distinguish also how do you want to treat the patient and the client, depending. The patient is in Chinese medicine, the client is in coaching, but at the end is what is coming here with the client, which is the part that is asking for help or that it's demanding more attention. So, and this is a little bit the same in organizations. And you can really relate the personal world with the organizational world. So I create a methodology that compared the two of them.
Wow.
And then you say, of course, that sometimes you have like physical problems, okay? And sometimes there are trauma in organizations. Sometimes there are merger and acquisitions, and there are like emotional issues. So if you're able just to see it, but with business perspective, you understand there are a lot of hidden dynamics that actually we cannot measure or we cannot immediately talk about that are there that are affecting their business results.
Yeah, this is great. I have so many different questions on different directions. Still, before we go into a startup, actually, how did you build that? So, did you go straight to study the holistic Chinese medicine, or it took you some time to find your way?
Yeah, I got directly because I was treated with the Chinese medicine. So
Okay.
that was working on me.
Yeah.
Then I wanted to explore. That happened the same with the familiar and organizational constellation. So basically, I was in therapies, and my therapist was suggesting me to go and do this kind of work, which I had no clue.
Okay.
And that impressed me so much. I didn't want to learn. So I'm spending more now the last 15 years of my life learning that and studying. And now, of course, you do more and more masters and everything. So the full idea of the systemic perspective is now really what motivates me in life. Yes.
I'm glad that we met. I'm very much into that right now. It's very interesting.
It's like what is a systemic leadership or systemic management in company? How can change the perspective, especially we are in a complex world and we need to be practical. So you cannot just plan complexity because it doesn't work. And we are seeing it. And during the pandemic, we learned so much. So the systemic perspective helps you to basically understand the dynamics that are acting in you, in the system, in different systems, and create the order or somehow position yourself better in the different situation.
Okay, but so what's your product now with the TeamEQ?
Yeah, so basically what we did is, because this is part of the philosophy that it's embedded in me as a founder, and it's the philosophy. But then we need to create some product that is practical and useful for organizations. So what we thought is, hey, we need to measure the present and we need to understand teams dynamics because everybody's asking about individuals and we inquire about individuals, but of course teams are completely different than the sum of individuals. And then it comes the other part of my family entrepreneurship, which is basketball, because actually my father was president of the basketball team of Milan. And so I played basketball myself for 13 years. And that came asking ourselves, well, which are the characteristics of high-performing teams in sports? Okay, so we have real-time awareness of situations, good leadership, okay, the capability and the skills to share in an open way what's happening on the field. So if we are in the locker room and we say, hey, you're not playing well, we change you for another player. So it's really being aware and at the same time sincere and have a clear common goal. So we recreated through technology this moment of the locker room and asking how are we as a team? How do we feel as a team? And measure the team performance, the team's well-being, the team's dynamics, so that we can, as a team, see how we are doing, talk about it with real-time data and dashboards with real-time data, and actually basically act.
So how does it work? Like each team has some kind of dashboard, and then you have to log in, record your daily activities, the emotional state, and then I don't know, algorithms behind develops.
Yeah, so basically we are a team analytics and team intelligence platform. So that means that we help team support. We support team with complex moments. So there are like some kind of modules. So you can choose between different modules, and the company choose different modules. And total, it's between 3 and 5 minutes to answer, no matter the module you choose, because our aim was being simple and quick. So we create like some kind of Pareto law of teams, and we've been validated scientifically by CCL, which is the Center for Creative Leadership, San Diego. They are like the top Harvard of leadership development. So we are very glad. That was in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic. And so there are different modules you can compose, and there is this pulse coming in the date that you are setting for the team. The team answers, different team answer, and then the team can have access to real-time dashboards with real-time results of the team. But what's interesting, talking about perceptions, because we were talking about perception the other day in the panel, and everybody can see their own perception compared to the average of the team. And also when the team takes some action, everybody can see what I think it's been doing and what the other people think
that you were doing.
So that this perception gap is one of the base of the EQ, of the emotional intelligence, and support diversity, support neurodiversity also, because we were talking the other day, if I'm neurodiverse, probably I perceive the world in a different way. And if there's no way in a private and safe environment to understand these perception differences, then we cannot do anything about it.
Well, that's very interesting. So a few questions. First question would be, with how big are the companies you're working with?
We are working now. We won a public offer for Poste Italiane, which is like the Royal Post Mail in Italy.
So that sounds big.
So that's big. Or like Eni, for instance, in Italy. And we are working with companies that are like between 50 and 2,000 people. And then there are others that are huge. So it depends. At the end is what is the issue and what you want your teams to thrive and to get as a result. We also work a lot with consultancies, because we are a way for consultancies to measure their interventions, the before, during, and after, M&As, process transformation, cultural transformation, or coaching.
That's so funny. Because I'm laughing now because basically what I wanted to ask you as a follow-up, and just keep having the questions you're answering, right? So if you do some consultancy, if you onboard the clients, but I'm very curious, how do employees react and perceive such tools? Because like if I would look back, let's say 10 years me or something, I would be very skeptical. Someone is asking me tomorrow how I feel. I was not aware. My awareness of myself was very limited back then, and the mindset was not there. So do you have any like data or insights? How do companies perceive when they get this kind of tool introduction? Are they skeptical?
So
happy?
We have now more than 2 million data in the platform in these years. And we published 3 white papers to a little bit like the future of teams, that what we are seeing inside the platform, because of course the trends that are coming up, for instance, during the COVID, we had in all the platform minus 35% cross-team collaboration. Because of course people were relating with their own team, but they were not relating anymore, being isolated and locked down with other teams. So we developed a new module for cross-team collaboration and informal leaders that it's now on the platform as organizational network analysis for companies, but it came from the analysis of our data. So which is the friction at the beginning? There are 2 different kind of friction. The first one is our ego. Because it's the first time that you see data, and for leaders especially, is quite impacting that the teams is somehow evaluating the us. as a team, because the first thought and the first perception of a leader is they are judging me, which is not the case, because we are talking about the us. So what we do is during the onboarding process, we support team leaders to understand data and to give back and to share the data of the us that comes up with the team to take common decisions. So what's the next step for us? So that it's not on me as a decision maker, is really on us to decide. And this is on a team level. On a company level, of course, there's this kind of privacy. So be respectful that you never see individual answer. We beautiful. never provide individual answer or aggregates. And for companies, it's okay, how do I communicate this new need of accountability, of really taking responsibility of your team, so that I cannot do everything from the HR position of the people position. So I really need the team to take care. So this is the pain there, because people, director, understand that there is like a huge movement of agile tech teams are much more autonomous. There are different ecosystems working in organizations. So they need somehow to understand what's going on and take actions in real time. They cannot expect somebody else at the top of the company to do something.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Wow. Going back a bit into you as an entrepreneur, from corporate to life showing you that you should stop and getting those physical pains probably initiated by your brain. How did your entrepreneurial journey was so far? Because it's not only, highs, it's also the lows. How are you handling this? And
I would say that we must be aware that entrepreneurial journey is really like a roller coaster. And when they say it to you, you say, okay, I will deal with it. But it's painful sometimes because it's really like a mirror of a society that's from, and then I speak from Europe, because sometimes in the States, entrepreneur are much more adorated. Okay, but here in Europe, okay, we want everybody to be entrepreneur, but sometimes they're not the mean, especially in South Europe, and do investments, or it's painful. So you see your entrepreneur friends in other parts of the world that raise a lot of money with the half metrics that you have. And here people say, no, it's not enough, we cannot invest, or they invest like 20K, 25K, 50K. You say, oh my God, they are raising, my friends in UK or even in France now, they are raising like 3 millions, and it's easy for them. Why cannot raise here like 100K? So I think there is one point that is, of course, the ecosystem. And the second one is about the different, I would say, sectors, the different industries. So HR tech, we must say, is not the most like
it's not the
cool.
sexy field.
It's not the cool field. Okay, so investors say, oh, I prefer to invest like in fintech or in insurtech, or there are some fields that are more cool than human resources, and corporate funds generally are very vertical. And so when you have an horizontal product like we have, and it's a paradox, perception paradox, because you are needed by everyone in every company, potentially need a tool for people and for like the future work. And at the same time, if I'm Telefonica, I would probably invest and look for solution in the telcos. If I'm energetical, I will look for green tech. So is some kind of paradox between what corporates are looking for, which is their field, and what is needed for everybody. And I was talking with logistics. Also, there are some fields that are horizontal that have the same problem as HR tech.
Totally. And are you bootstrapped right now, or have you raised some funds, or what's your plan?
We raised 1.5 million until now, both in family and friends, business angels and business angels association, and also some helps for local government. So from Asturias government, which is a region in the north of Spain.
I heard Digital Nomads Paradise or something like that.
Yes, exactly. One of the testimonials.
I was sitting and waiting for a friend at the conference, and then the wind blew this flyer, and it was like, Asturias, digital
Digital
nomad
nomad
paradise.
paradise.
And I was like, is that a sign?
But it's true. It's amazing. I didn't know Asturias before. And I went for first time in 2021 where we moved our company there. And it's really an amazing place. And now they are building more technologies. And of course, they come from a past of especially like mineries and weight corporates.
Okay.
And then now they are attracting more and more tech companies, and there are new companies raising there. So the ecosystem is still small, but they are very humble, yes, and they want really to thrive.
I mean, with such marketing, I'm pretty sure they can reach, actually. I'm curious. I started Googling.
Yeah, please come to Asturias.
It looks good.
It's promise.
Okay,
I invite you.
I'll come. Okay, great.
No, they are actually, they implemented, I don't know, like 9 or 10 international flights in the last 2 years.
Cool.
So they did it very well. And with London, it's almost 3 times a week. So
very nice. Yeah. No, Spanish ecosystem in general is right now, it seems like to be flying, growing, especially with Norscan coming in Barcelona with the Impact House.
Yes.
Also,
so Malaga is doing great.
Oh, Malaga is crazy.
Yeah. So it's like Barcelona, Madrid, you have Malaga, you have Valencia.
Yeah.
And you have different cities now that are starting to grow. And I'm Italian, as you know, by the accent, okay? And I love my country, of course. And I think Milan is a great place for business. And at the same time, the startup ecosystem is not as well developed as Spain.
It's getting there, but you've got now one conference called Tech Chill. I think it's been like 2-3 times now organized. It's happening in September. So I think it's getting there. I actually attended one. But I was so frustrated with being not able to call the cab and being late everywhere. I was like, no way, first world problems. Okay, joking. Entrepreneurship, right? So what about in general, maybe mental challenges? Because one thing is really difficult to bootstrap, but building a startup, it's always ups and downs, and some clients, I don't know, give us your feedback, but you need to change something very fast and so on. How do you deal with that?
Yes.
Because you're also a CEO, right?
Yes.
Do you have co-founders? How is your management team?
Yes. So now we are 15 people. And we have we were 3 co-founders. One went out 2 years ago. So it was not an easy process. That was complicated. It was painful because sometimes it's at the human side and also the professional side. Professionally, we are very glad now because that was needed. That he somehow exit the company, but the process was not easy. So what I would say is that, of course, we had a lot of pressure, and from a systemic point of view, since we also studied, I proposed one of my professors to study the entrepreneurial pressures. From a systemic point of view, is because when you have an idea and you really believe in the idea, somehow you are ready to sacrifice for this idea. And the sacrifice is a little bit hidden now. So there's no so much talk about entrepreneurial mental health than entrepreneurial difficulties. Is more like you always have to be in front of everybody, being pitching, whatever, okay? But then what's behind? So I think women entrepreneur, especially, and women investors, it's really important because that used to be a very masculine word.
I'm glad to see that it's changing, actually, with all the different initiatives. It's bringing more femininity inside, but it's still a long way to go.
Yes, and and we know that from a male perspective, vulnerability is not very well considered. Okay, so, and this is something that it's inside the entrepreneurial world. So it's always be like the best on the top, always smiling, and whatever, and so and of course ups down up there. And when I heard somebody one day told me this was very good advice. They told me, when you choose an investor, think 2 things. One, do you really want this person, or would you like this person to like you imagine get along having a beer or like laugh with this person? And the second is, when you will have a problem, and would this person be a good person to talk or to call?
Yeah, I think it's always good just to go for a quick trip with an investor and the founder, and then you see how do you deal in the wrong situation.
Because we are in the ups, everything is okay. And when you're in down, we were so lucky. And the investors that we had really supported us in at any moment. And there was tough moments, beautiful moments, growing moments and excited highlights. And then when you are down and you really need that call, okay, I have people that I can call, like Victoria, for instance. She was in the panel, and you can call her, and even if you are like in tears, you are in a difficult moment, there's always like, okay, let's be rational, let's try to support, let's help. And that not means to be condescended, that when you need to be like shaken and say, hey, you're not doing the right thing, or wake up, okay, that's this wake up call. So I mean, it's relying on somebody to be there when you need.
Yeah, but you also mentioned a bit like pitching events and so on. It's really draining, and I think have to be very strategic, because we can always be out there, but at some point, sometimes I notice also a lot of founders who just go through the conferences, but they don't really focus on building the product. And I think there should be a balance. But I've noticed that you actually won one of the 4 years from now competition, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that? How did that happen?
Yes, actually, we won the Hack the Gap prize. It's an international competition for the solution that helps to hack the gap. So that means the gender equality in organizations. Because inside the tool, since there are these pulse surveys, and these pulse surveys are anonymous, so people are answering, and then dashboards are also anonymous. So somehow we are giving voice to everybody in the teams, and we are studying behind data, diversity as an inclusion pattern, and also leadership pattern related to the diversity in the team. Okay, so we proved that when a team is more diverse in terms of gender and also nationalities, or where you can arrive, because of course for privacy reason, and there are better results. Okay, and also that feminine leadership have some different characteristics, or that teams that are led by women have different behaviors. So we are studying also this pattern behind. And the most important thing for us is really being aware when we create questions, when we design the platform and everything, about diversity and also the gender inclusion in this case. So we won this Hack the Gap prize, and that was very, very beautiful moment on the Mobile World Congress stage. Everybody in the team came up, and that was a few years ago. Yeah,
that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing. And how does your now holistic knowledge, you've been also on this journey for like around what you mentioned, 15 years almost. How does it help with your entrepreneurship?
Well, it's the essence and the key of the product. So everything we developed in TeamEQ, that's why it's a different solution compared to other solution, because the team is at the center. So we measure team dynamics and really understand what's happening in the team, and not only into individuals. Okay, because at the end, the dynamic of the team is different than the sum of the part. This is something that everybody says. But then how you measure team dynamics instead of individual dynamic only. Okay, so when you see our measurement, you have the individual level, the team level, the relation with the leader, the cross team, so the relation with different teams, and of course the company level. So you have the visibility cone of the full data of your company, of your people, so they can understand which are the key drivers, action drivers to be implemented. Because at the end, if you measure but you cannot implement action, that's not useful. Okay, so we work in onboarding. We have like coaching during the onboarding for different roles. So for the leaders, for the teammates, for the team, for the observer leaders. And now we are working with a digital mentor with a generative AI that it's also supporting inside the platform, and somehow complementing the human part and the machine learning part.
Ah, that sounds complex and very interesting. Okay, so I guess I have one more question for you. What's your favorite part about being an entrepreneur?
I think is the feeling that you're really building something new. Because when we started, the HR analytic word did not exist. So it did not even exist, the word HR analytic. So I think that you feel that you are being part of the conversation, in the sense that there's no one solution to the problem. So our problem, let's say problem because that is a word of the deck, an entrepreneurial deck, is okay. technologies coming in, and
Yeah.
of course we need to think what's the best technology to be able to have data and to develop human intelligence at the same time with data. Okay, so this was our point. And when you think about that, you say, hey, okay, there are different solutions around the world. And I was mentioning you before, from Europe, we have a humanistic vision, we have a humanistic DNA. We are able to provide different solutions that are including the human vision and the intelligence of the team and development inside together with data. So I think that when you provide solutions and you are in an innovative context, being entrepreneur means that you can somehow be thought leader in shaping the how. So for instance, ethic for us is key. For us is key. Ethic, data, and people. So for us is at the center. And when we think our solution, we always think about how can we guarantee visibility for people and privacy. How we can guarantee data and awareness, reflection, and personal growth. How can we? So it's part of the reflection that we provide. And I think that you have the feeling that somehow you can push the reflection into a better conversation.
Amazing. That's exciting. I have we are coming to the end. I have a final question for you. So always on this podcast, I like to ask my guests kind of to ask an open question for the audience so we can all kind of ponder through the day. It can be about perception, life, or some kind of food for thought. What would you like to ask our audience?
I will ask, are you aware of the different systems you belong to? So for instance, I explain, for instance, we belong to our family system and there is an order. Maybe we are the second child, the third child, we have two brothers, I'm the first one, I'm the third one. Okay, that's an order. And then in your organization is another system. Maybe we are in an association, is another system. So are we aware of the multiple different systems we belong to in our lives? A team is a system different than the organization. And how do we relate with these systems differently? Are we the same person? Do we feel the same in different systems? Maybe in one system I'm frustrated, in the other one I'm so glad. Or when I play with my soccer team, I feel outplayed. So, and this is a question that starts, and from there, the awareness of how do I feel in the different systems? How can I do to improve?
Awesome. Thank you, Francesca. And final question, where do people can find you or follow you? What would be the best channel?
Well, for in LinkedIn for sure. And then I have a Twitter, which is Francesca Gabetti. And yes, and that's the best. And then of course through them. And but I have a question for you.
Yes, I'm here. All yours. You have a question for me, all right? Okay.
Yes. So why Barcelona?
Why Barcelona? Wow.
And why perception paradox?
The very good questions. Okay, so with Barcelona, I think it's, I don't know, just when you open to life, life happens. I think first time when I came to Barcelona in 2012, I was like, oh, I like this city. It's like nice vibe. I'm the water person. And I have some friends in Barcelona. And this fall, I was thinking where I would like to spend more time. And I was like, I will see. I'll go where it's warmer. And then just friends texted, oh, I'm going home. If anyone is interested in an apartment, I was like, yeah, sure. It was for 3 weeks. I'm like, I'm taking it. Okay, I took it. And I had the wedding before that. So I came for 3 weeks. Then another friend, oh, we are vacating our flat for 1 month. Anyone is interested? I was like, and the days were exactly matching. I was like, yeah, cool. I'm staying actually.
The farm were all in Barcelona.
Yeah. It's like, it's
so
the
that
same
was meant
group
to
of
be.
friends. Exactly. So it was just like that. And that's it. And right now I've got back for the Mobile World Congress. And I was like, maybe I should stay. I'm not sure where should I locate myself because I can work from anywhere. And I'm curious in Barcelona ecosystem in general. And I'm like, okay, so I've got the place. And then I've just confirmed this week that there is apparently a flat available for 1 month and a half. So I'm like, okay, cool.
So your story with Barcelona starts with flats.
Yeah, I think so. It's with flats. Just someone posted. I'm like, I feel like that's a good choice, I guess. I'm coming. That's it. So that was like that perception paradox. Well, I mentioned already before our recording, right? A few years back, I thought like, okay, I would like to bring more stories that inspires me and that I get access to all the events and all the activities. And I'm like, okay, how can I do that? Definitely not on our podcast. And here we are today with the podcast.
No, but that was the name.
The perception paradox was after having some conversations about life and perceptions and perspectives and how actually we all see the world different way, and then we meet in the middle, right? And we have to be open to accept and also to share. So that was the kind of the idea. And everything is in general the paradox in life. And it's all the way we see it and the way we choose to see the world.
And well, I think that also it's so important to be aware that we are a constant paradox. And if we think that it's plain position or plain life, or like we are able to plan everything, so basically it's such a big mistake in a complex world. So I think that being aware of the paradox inside everything helps us to actually be more like distance and be like, okay,
more chill.
More chill. Chill. You know that sometimes people ask, why do we measure perceptions inside the tool, inside TeamEQ? And one is, of course, because when you are aware about your perception and other perception, you can increase your emotional intelligence and collective emotional intelligence. But also because maybe people are not aware sometimes that 80% of our behaviors are based on our perceptions. So, for instance, if you feel there's no trust in the team, you will act as there's no trust in the team. If you feel you're not psychologically safe or that you're not aligned, you will act like that. So it's so important. Sometimes they ask us, but they are not objective. There is the most objective thing in the world, because you cannot say that I cannot say your perception is not true. Your perception is true because it's yours. Then if I understand mine and understand yours, then we can discuss and take the best decision together. So that's something that when you asked me before about the friction, sometimes it's like, why are we measuring perception? So, and I'll ask, do you rely more on facial recognition than on perception? Then, okay, now facial recognition is forbidden from the European Union. And you don't know how many investors during the last 10 years, when 10 years, no, but 5 years, sometimes they told me, why you are not moving into facial recognition? And not only for ethic, because of course ethic was one thing, and now it was recognized that it's not ethic, but also because we bet for conscious data. If people are not conscious that they don't do answer for that perception, that how you can talk about it and take decision. Because if you tell me, okay, from your facial recognition, you're angry, you can say it's not true and you're angry.
People can, for example, if I'm working, I'm very serious, by the way. I don't know, I just get this poker face sometimes when I'm in my zone, and everyone, we didn't want to distract you. It seemed very busy and angry. I'm like, why do people think that I'm always busy? I'm not busy. And I started really looking within myself. So what kind of signals am I sending through my face and body language?
We were talking about neurodiversity. Imagine the emotional expression for neurodiverse people is completely different. So let's take into a point AI. Of course, AI is amazing, and we all need to understand generative AI, how to work with it. It's amazing what is going on. And at the same time, we need to protect our human side of being aware of things. Because if we all rely on things that are measuring us, then we would really be disempowered in taking our decisions.
I have a very good example actually about this measuring and relying too much. So when the first time I've got myself a smartwatch that is measuring the sleep time cycle, it was, I think, maybe it was at the beginning of Aura Ring or even before. I've never got one myself for now, but I remember very well that the first week I was so excited because I can see my steps, how much energy I use, and then what I could see, my sleep cycle, right? Even though it's not 100% accurate, but I could kind of see in the morning how much deep sleep I had, according to my Garmin watch, how much REM sleep, etc. And what I've noticed after 2 weeks having the watch, that is, instead of actually waking up, thinking, how do I feel? How did I sleep? And really sinking within myself, I just started relying on my watch data. If my watch says that I didn't have enough deep sleep, I would say, I feel very tired.
You
know what I mean?
I will tell you something nice. So I have a Garmin here.
Yeah.
And you know what I do?
No,
I
you
take
remove
it off every night
I need
before
start
going to
doing
sleep,
yes.
and I
That's
leave
really
it
good.
there.
That's really good.
Because that was, I mean,
You
the
become
same.
a freak. You
The
become a
same. At the
freak.
beginning was like, I want to see that. And then I don't rely it. I mean, and then it does, it's not comfortable to sleep with a
Yeah.
watch. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
But now you see the ring that
Aura
was
ring.
the Aura ring that was in Samsung.
I did not see the Samsung one
Yeah.
actually. I missed it by accident.
There were like different wearables,
Yeah.
and one was a ring.
For sleep.
Yes, no, it's like measuring everything. Is a wearable actually, instead of the watch in the Mobile World Congress. There was this. It's not it's not on sale
Not yet.
Not
Okay.
yet, but it's I think it's Samsung.
So I'm pretty sure Samsung will be measuring nutrition and so on.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting towards that we will be measuring.
But it's always
But
okay
it's-
when you can decide to remove it.
At the
Like
same
we
time.
were talking about Singapore, where elderly people actually it's mandatory now to have a special like checking system that it's like some kind of wearable that immediately warn for health. And when you think about
Wow.
it, you say, hey, this is good, and then you think now they're doing also for people doing sport, and then it would be for the children, and then we
Okay,
do
so
that.
it's kind of
So it's like everybody would be
Where's
checked,
the limit? Yeah.
and at some point there was some kind of system that it's if you have fever, then the door got blocked. They say what?
No, in Singapore.
Yeah,
I haven't experienced that. Oh my goodness.
so it's like okay, and they're thinking
Because for me it
of
looked
new
like
ways
everyone
of
was working.
protection
Okay.
and measurement, because of course it was like it's COVID.
Okay, it does not look like
no?
prevention. It looks more like kind of protection and limitations.
Yeah, but it's
And
like
no.
where is the limit and where is the point? So
And then we perceive the limit different ways, and for everyone it's very different, right? It seems like what is
Yeah.
freedom?
So that's why it's like being aware and can take your own decisions. At the end, is the freedom is also be powerful enough not to be afraid to see what it is and to face the reality in a way that you can see the truth. Okay, and that it's your own truth, because that would be always your own truth, and then take your decision. So that's why I think transparent data are good, and it is also need to be protected in a way that they must be transparent and respect the culture of the organization. Totally. We come from a control culture, so of course cannot be like freedom, like a free data or full transparency. We know that there are some kind of holacracy models or like models that are full transparent, perfect, and for some organization might work. For other organization coming from control freak, that maybe not working yet, and maybe not working at some point. So I think that it's always important to be able to graduate the experience depending on the awareness and the cultural moment of the company.
Amazing. And also just being a good human.
Yeah.
Being a good human being to begin with, and then we can add the systems to our lives. But Francesca, thank you so much. That was different closing of the podcast, which I really enjoyed. A nice due route of the conversation to even getting more in depth. Thank you again for joining, for jumping in, for sharing your knowledge, experience, and passion.
Thank you so much for having me. And actually, in the moment I will create my own podcast, please be my guest.
Okay, I'll be amazing. Thank you. And this was Perception Paradox. So have a good day anywhere you are, and see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.